Happy, beautiful day. It is Pete Cohen. It is the Pete Cohen podcast, and I'm making this podcast really especially because there's so much going on in the world right now. Everyone is thinking about pretty much one thing, and I've got a few things I want to say about it. So this is going to be a very unusual podcast because I'm not scripted, and in a moment I'm actually going to go live on Facebook and LinkedIn because I just figure why not get this message out there. So there's a few things I want to say. Hopefully it will inspire you, but I first off just want to thank every single one of you that is a listener of the podcast. This has become a bit of a revolution. My goal was for the inspirational revolution, which is the Pete Cohen podcast, to inspire people all over the world to look at things differently, because it's only when we really look at things differently that I think we then are able to act differently. And what the coronavirus has done is it's kind of made a lot of people step back and think. Obviously, it's made a lot of people panic as well, which is no surprise. But I really want to take the time to share with you some insights, things that I have observed and seen that I think could make a huge difference to our life. So in a moment, you'll hear me go live on LinkedIn and on Facebook. And make sure you also know, guys, that you can get my book for free. And my book is called Inspirators, and it's all about being inspired. And just go to book.petecohen.com. And on top of that, you can download the book. You can go through my goal setting assessment. Setting goals, look, is so important. But on the back of that, you literally can get access to my calendar. You can speak to me and we can talk about how you're going to be a hero through these challenging times and how I could help you. It's not going to cost you anything. It's just my bit to go out there and serve as many people as I can. So I'll see you after the theme tune.
The big question is, how are some people in the world today creating the results they want with their health, wealth, and happiness? What exactly are these people doing? This podcast will give you the answers and inspire you to live the life that you want today.
Happy, beautiful day. It is Pete Cohen here. Thank you so much for joining me. Today is, what is the day today? It's Sunday, and I'm doing something pretty unique. I'm actually broadcasting on LinkedIn and on Facebook Live, and I'm also recording my podcast. And I just thought, why not? Why not show up and talk about a few things that are on my mind? I don't know about you, but if I was to ask you the question, what is on your mind right now? What would you say? What would you write down? In fact, you can just share that with me if you want. What is on your mind right now? For a lot of people, I would imagine there is a fair degree of uncertainty. There's a fair degree of fear, anxiety. I mean, we're all different, right? But I don't think there has ever been a time where there has been as many people thinking about the same thing as they're thinking about right now. And there's just a lot of things I really wanted to get off my chest. And hopefully that's okay with you. You don't have to listen to what I have to say. But as many of you know, I'm extremely passionate about helping people be inspired. I'm extremely passionate about humanity. I believe in people. I believe in what is possible. My life's work has all been about coaching people and listening to people. I'm not the world's best listener, but sometimes when people talk and you listen, you realize what the problem is. You realize what the solution is. And please feel free to like and comment and share, and the same with you guys who are listening to the Pete Cohen podcast. You know, the Pete Cohen podcast, we've recorded over 250 episodes, and our podcast is one of the top podcasts in mental health. It was down to 14 last week, which is probably no surprise because I think there are more people out there who are wanting help. And when we look at the coronavirus and we look at what's going on, you know, I think it really basically throws out a lot of questions, right? You know, a lot of things, a lot of people, there's huge amounts of uncertainty. But I really wanted to share with you right now a few things that I think are just essential. And we need to be having these conversations. And it's this. What is the legacy going to be of the coronavirus? See, when we look at humanity and we look at what's happened and what's happened before, things like this have happened before. maybe not to this scale and maybe not to the impact. Especially the biggest impact, without doubt, is going to be the economical impact, right? Just if you took a moment to think about it and think, see, everything is all connected and it's all very fragile. So when one thing kind of cracks, another thing cracks and the whole thing falls apart. And in man's search for meaning, what we're here to do, I think we are all here to grow. You know, we do grow and then we die. So we're all here to grow, we're all here to evolve, we're all here to expand in some way. That's my view, it might not be your view. And then when something happens which stops you from doing what you normally do, especially if that means you earning money to basically put food on the table or to pay your mortgage, all of a sudden your whole life is turned upside down. But what I find truly unique is, when do we actually get to see the best in people? You know, what does it actually take for something to rise up inside people, for people to go, I need to do something. I need to do something about this. Well, it probably won't come as any surprise to you, but it is a disaster. A disaster happens, a trauma, a prognosis, something happens. And then all of a sudden people start behaving in a way, and they tend to go in two ways. You know, some people panic, and lots of people have been panicking, and we can understand why that is, because when we experience fear, we go into a survival mode. And that's why you see so many people going out panic buying, because they're frightened. They're frightened that something really bad is going to happen. They're not going to be able to feed themselves and their family. And that's one of the reasons people behave that way. And that makes sense. But the fact of the matter is, it's the fact that people tend to experience way too much fear, way too much stress every single day. The majority of us are living in a state of perpetual stress, always fear, anxiety, worry, doubt. We live in a world, you and I, we live in a system that is basically telling us, giving us messages, whether you like this or not, that you're not good enough. And you need to do something about that. You're not good enough and you need to do something. And in most cases, what you need to do is prove yourself to others by what you have, you know, the watch, the phone, the car, the house, the job, the status. That's part of, and getting people to like you and comment on you and to think that you're great. That's the world that a lot of people are living in, and it's never enough. You see, when we really look at humanity and we really look at what human beings are what we call pro-social. Pro-social. What that means is we are others directed. We cannot survive on our own. We might survive for a bit, but how long would you survive? We need each other. And human beings, and this is, I think, one of the unique opportunities that we all have right now, is to take the wisdom of the ages of people like Martin Luther King, who basically said this: the most important question, the number one question we should all be asking is, what can we do for others? What can we do for others? Now, you and I, we have been in a system for many time. And I remember my coach. I had a coach, you know, my wisdom, I'm not as wise as maybe you think I am. I'm just someone who's genuinely curious. I'm the guy who was brought up very well by two amazing parents. And it's Mother's Day today, and a happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. We're going to have a Zoom lunch with my mum and my brother today. But my parents brought me up really well. I'm very, very, very fortunate. And many of you know this story, but I'll tell you anyway. I have a number of principles that I live by. I mean, mainly 4 principles that every day I have to remind myself of these, right? So the first one is, the first 2 are mine, right? I mean, and I don't own them. I mean, you could have them as well. I believe that your future and my future is unwritten. That's what I believe, right? And we have the ability to write our future. I know some people will be really challenged by that because of what's going on right now, but I totally believe that even with all of this, there is still only one thing out there in the universe that is available to all of us, and that is possibilities. That's the only thing. There are infinite amount of possibilities. Right now, how many possibilities do I have of what I could say, what I could do? I could take my top off. I could run around the room pretending to be a Native American Indian. I could do what I want. I could turn this off. I could do it. All that exists in front of me is possibilities. But a lot of people, they don't see that. They just see what's wrong, what's missing, what they haven't got. And it's very, 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 very easy to do that, especially right now, isn't it? It would be such an easy thing to do, to think that, and go into what I call the victim mode. And if I'm going to be brutally honest, because I want to get a whole load of stuff out there, we live in a world where people feel victimized. I'm not good enough. In this country, our institution, our oldest institution, is the kingdom. And for centuries, we have served the kingdom. We are servants to others. We are servants to people to make them money, basically, in many cases. And that's why people never make enough money, but they just have a job and they make enough money. And now they're in a situation where they've never had enough, because if they had enough, they wouldn't do that job in many cases. I'm not saying this applies to everyone, but these are the systems that we are a part of. And now we have an opportunity to create different systems. But it's whether you want to, and you're never going to do that if you're a victim. So I believe your future's unwritten, the first thing. The second thing I believe is that we have the power to do something about it. These are my two guiding principles. Your future's unwritten, and you have the power to do something about it. That power that we all have only normally comes out in a time of a crisis. The rest of the time, people just go back to being zombies. And I don't mean that to belittle people, because people are doing what they think is best. I've got to get my cup of coffee from over here, because there you go. People do what they think is best, and sometimes people do what they think is best until they know better. And then sometimes when people know better, they do better. As a child, I used to love watching zombie films. I don't know why. I don't like watching them now. You know, this whole premise of zombie films are that when there's no room left on heaven or earth, the dead will walk the earth. And I don't know why I found that really interesting, and people being able to run away from zombies and, you know, don't get bitten, because if you get bitten, you'll turn into a zombie. Now, I think most of us have been bitten in life, you know, bitten by education, bitten by, in a way that we've been influenced, that we think this is the way that we need to move through the world. And what man has done to the world is pretty amazing, but at the same time, it's pretty tragic. And I just think that we all have an opportunity to look at life differently. We all have an opportunity to be different on the back of this. We all have an opportunity to look at the world with a fresh pair of eyes. Otherwise, and this is my biggest fear, is that after this all calms down in some way, people will just go back to being zombies again. When I say zombies, it's just being consumers of things that really don't bring about any huge amounts of joy. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with watching the television. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with eating processed food, but that's another system. You know, if you think about what's happening in the world now, I mean, right now, how many people would get this virus if they were well? If they had a strong immune system? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But there's a few doctors who I listen to, and they all say, I mean, you can look at it if you want and see the amount of people, all the people that are pretty much dying from this virus, they had underlying health conditions. How many of them would have had those underlying health conditions if they lived a different lifestyle? I mean, I don't know whether you know this, there's very few illnesses that people are born with. Very few. Diabetes type 1, sickle cell anemia, I think there's a few. And the rest, you might have something within your DNA, possibly. Again, I'm not a doctor here, but it's more to do with not your DNA, your epigenetics, which means how your genes express themselves based on how you're living. And if you've been living in a way where you're stressed, you're worried, and maybe have good reason to be that way, if you're consuming lots of alcohol, you smoke, you don't sleep very well, you don't eat very well. I mean, 97.3% of Americans are sick or not well based by 4 basic measures. They either smoke, they don't exercise more than 150 minutes a week, they don't eat a good diet, and what's the other one? Oh, the body fat. If they're men, body fat is higher than 20. If it's women, it's higher than 30. So 97.3% of Americans basically don't measure up to being healthy. And if you're not healthy, you're more prone to sickness. Now, these are systems that we are, and it's hard, right? Because food is an addiction. Just go to a supermarket or a garage and you'll see that you are being tempted by what is there. And it's the same with cigarettes, the same with that. These are systems. You have been caught in a system. If you want to back off from that system and be healthy, well, it's going to be a challenge. Is it worth it? This is the first thing I want to ask you. Is it worth stepping back and looking at what's going on in the world and asking yourself a few questions like, do you want to carry on this way? Do you want to do things differently? Or once this blows over, what will you do? Is this maybe for some of you the change that you've been looking for? Is this going to be a defining moment in your life where you look for different things? See, in times like this, what a lot of people do is they start looking for opportunities. And they think there's possibilities that will come out of all of this, that the breaking down of certain systems means that we have the opportunity to create new systems. What my coach used to say to me years ago, he said, Pete, you need to learn how to play the system. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger says, break the rules. Don't break the law, break the rules. And in many cases, the rules that we have are the rules that we've made up ourselves. So I ask you, what would you like the legacy of this time to be? We have this ridiculous focus of attention on what is wrong, what is missing, what we haven't got. If you watch the news, of course, that's all that it's about. There will be some happy stories to lighten people's moods, but then it's the dumbing down of humanity. Don't rise up. Just be a consumer. So if you consume, and if you think about what you're consuming, if you consume the news, like my mum, she loves to watch the television. What she loves to watch is her choice, but she loves to watch things like soap operas, EastEnders. She loves to watch Casualty. She loves to watch 24 Hours in A&E. And if that's what she enjoys watching, which she does, I'm not telling her that she shouldn't do it, but if that's what you're consuming, where is the room and the space for optimism about what is possible? And what I'm asking you to do is I'm asking you to come on a revolution with me. I'm asking you to join the inspirational revolution where we are inspired about what we are going to do. And this is why I'm asking you, what are you going to do? We don't know exactly what is going to happen, but when we look at the most powerful thing that we can do right now is to ask ourselves a few questions. What can I do? What is in my control? What is the difference that is going to make the difference? Now, with my coaching community and people I work with quite closely, a few of them popped up when I did a Facebook Live on Friday, and one of them, her name is Gillian, was basically talking about the fact that her work is basically now very, very uncertain. She's got 2 kids, and it's difficult. But she's still thinking, what can she do for others? And by the way, one of the reasons, one of my friends was telling me, one of the reasons why Italy, they've got such a problem is that people in Italy live in very confined spaces in many places. And many of those households, you have 3 generations. You have, the family of the son, the father, and the grandparents all living together. And if you're living in close proximity to someone, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think you're more prone to sickness? Plus, the Italian way of life, as a generalization, is very unhealthy. Do you know how many Italians smoke? Have you been to Italy? Have you seen in some parts of the world just how unhealthy people are? And in many cases, they just don't know better. They don't know what's really going on, and they don't know what's possible. And it needs people like us to be heroes. So I'm asking you, do you want to be a hero? Do you want to make a difference? In it, whichever way you want to. Is that something? Because if you do, I'm happy to help you. Just let me know. I'm serious. Let me know. And that's why every single person, I could be on the phone for literally the rest of my life, because the other day I publicly said, get a copy of my book for free. Just go to book.petecohen.com. Go to book.petecohen.com. It means you actually got to do something. You can download, we'll send you the book for free. It's a PDF, which I'll talk about in a minute, because I believe that could be your user guide, your user manual to help you get out of where we are. I really do believe that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Then once you download the book, another page comes up where I ask you to do my goal setting assessment. It will take you 10, 15 minutes. And it's going to be a big challenge for many of you to start thinking about goals during this time. But I think we need goals. Human beings are goal orientated. We need something that is in front of us. And there's never been a more important time for us to dare to dream, to think about something beyond what is going, something better. That's what visionaries do. And one of the greatest visionaries of our modern life was Bill Gates. And Bill Gates said a few years ago that this was what was going to happen. But not many people listened because no one really cares. Or do they? Do you really care? He predicted at a TED talk a number of years ago that this would happen. Other people have predicted it. How did it happen? Well, many people have said it's happened by basically human error, human just lack of attention, lack of care. Go through the goal setting assessment, and on the back of that, you'll have access to my calendar, and you can actually book in a call to speak to me. I will call you. We will talk for 15, 20 minutes. I'm not going to try and sell you anything. I want to know how I can help you. But I also want to know that there's something that you want to do, even if you don't know what that is. Now, it's really interesting. I'm offering that to people. My friend Joe DeSana, who runs Spartan Races, he lives in Vermont, and they've got 7 million people around the world that are on their sphere of influence with these outdoor adventure races. Their business has been turned upside down. And I never forget him basically saying that he offered everybody around the world to come to his farm in Vermont and come and work on the farm. And that was a few years ago, and I think he's had 4 or 5 people do it. It's crazy, right? Because it's so easy just to stay where you are. And some people will just stay as they are, be a zombie for the rest of their life. And I don't mean that but never realize there's so much more to life. And the greatest thing in life you can do is help others. And in order to help others, one of the best ways you can do that is help yourself. Make yourself physically stronger, mentally, emotionally. And again, that's not easy, but we were designed to work. We were designed to evolve. We were designed to go out there and be physical. That's what we are wired up to do. And you've bought into a system, we all have, that says you don't need to do that. You can just sit on your ass and order everything and it will come to you. That's the world that you are living in. It's called consumerism, where you can spend your whole day on a phone basically just doing this. It's consumerism. Steve Jobs wouldn't let his children have one of these because he knew what they were doing. And it's a tool. It's a great tool, but we have to be careful with tools that are used because they consume us. We are caught in these systems, but hopefully I think one of the great things that have happened about all of this is a lot of people are starting to realize what is really important. How many of you appreciate your mums so much more because you can't see them today? How many of you look outside today and you think, especially here, it's beautiful, and you think, wow, I can't believe this thing is going on. Well, the question we have to ask ourselves is, well, what do we want to do about it? I am obsessed with people and what people can do. I've seen what people can do. I've seen people that were able to cure my wife of cancer. She was given 18 months to live a number of years ago, but the other 2 guiding principles, I told you the first 2, your future's unwritten and you have the power to change. The other 2 is my dad said, son, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So I know a lot of people. I know a lot of you here are watching this now. I'm asking you to share this. Not many people will watch it because it's too long. I've been going for 21 minutes and they say, whoever they are, that you can't concentrate for more than 3 seconds. You can't hold your attention. Maybe you'll hold your attention on what is important. And my mum, and thank you, Mum, for being the most amazing human being on earth. Well, apart from me and everyone else on this earth, who also is amazing. The word amazing, by the way, comes from Henry VIII. Hampton Court, they used to build these big grass mazes, these hedges, and people would go through the maze. And guess what happened when you came out of the maze? It was amazing. How many of you would like to get out of the maze of the way that you're moving through the world? The maze of how you think, how you feel. Because this is an opportunity to do that. And I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to need help. And that's why I'm asking you the question. How can I help you so you could help yourself and help others? There are so many people out right now, their lives are never going to be the same again. I mean, this isn't Nazi Germany with people being gassed by the Nazis who literally wiped out millions of people. This is a wipeout of a different way that will kill many people's spirits. Of course, the virus will also kill people. But ultimately, are you alive right here, right now? Are you alive? Are you here? Because what I'm committed to doing is asking you the question, because that's what my mum said. Your future's unwritten. You have the power to change. That's two. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Ask yourself, who do I know who can help me and how can I help others? And fourthly, there's an answer to everything. If my mum had not brought me up that way, my wife would not be alive. I'm telling you, my wife would be dead if my mum hadn't told me that. And you know what? I never said this before, but she never actually told me that. She just showed me. And I really hope that she watches this. She never told me that. She never said there's an answer to everything. Everything she did showed me. As a child, I really struggled academically. I didn't fit into that system. It's a pathetic system that is so outdated and rubbish, I think. I'm sorry if you're a teacher, but what are we teaching children? That's another story. We'll talk about that another time. We need to be teaching kids what they need. My mum took me out of school for extra lessons. Everything she showed me, she always showed me there's an answer to everything. And when my wife was struck down with a massive brain tumor and not given very long to live, it was that training that made me think I'm not accepting what I'm being told. I'm not accepting the fact that what the doctors are telling my wife just because they've got a white coat on. I'm not playing that game. I'm looking outside the box. I believe the coronavirus is an amazing opportunity for us to look outside the box and start moving through the world in a different way. And if that's you and you're one of those people, well, let me help you. All of next week, Monday to Friday, this might not apply to all of the people that are listening to this on my podcast, but Monday to Friday, 7 a.m., how to build zest, hope, and optimism. Come and join us at 7 a.m. Without zest, there's no energy. With no energy, there's no hope. With no hope, there's no optimism. I just said that. I don't know where it came from, but that's what I'm going to be talking about next week. I'd really appreciate if you guys shared this and let other people have the opportunity to maybe be inspired by what I'm saying. Look, life isn't the way it's supposed to be, right? It is the way that it is. It's what we're going to do about it. But when I say that, life can be what you want it to be when you're inspired about something that you can see in front of you. I see a better day in front of us. I see more and more people coming together. I see more and more people waking up to what is really, really important. And what is important? Humanity and being humane, being courageous, asking the question, what can I do for you? How can I serve you? And that's what my book is all about. Look, it's all about being inspired. And the reason you need this, and it's free. I'm not asking you for anything. Well, I'm asking you to go and click on a few buttons and get on it. This book we wrote last year, and it's all about the hero's journey. The hero's journey that is in every film that you've ever seen, from Harry Potter to The Wizard of Oz to Rocky to Alice in Wonderland to Lord of the Rings. Every film, someone is called to an adventure. They don't want to go. You are being called to an adventure. I don't know what the adventure is. That's up to you to decide. You don't want to go. You need a coach. You need a mentor. You need a Dumbledore. You need a Mickey in Rocky. You need a Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. You need a Scarecrow. You need a Tin Man. You need a lion to come on this journey with you, because you ain't going to do it on your own. And this is a way for you to start seeing this whole thing as a story of what is going on. It's a story. And every chapter of this book relates to the different part of the journey. And in each one of the chapters, we talk about a different film that relates to the chapter. So the first chapter, the film, is Mary Poppins. Have you seen Mary Poppins? What does Mary Poppins do? Mary Poppins comes into the Banks' life, and she is a disruptor. She is what we call a positive disruptor. And that's what Pete Cohen is. I'm a positive disruptor. I want to disrupt things, but in a positive way. So you can look at what's going on and think, hang on a second, hang on. Whoa. Maybe we could do things a little bit differently. And of course, one of the other films is The Matrix. How many of you have seen The Matrix? Which pill do you want to take? When the lead character, Neo, is asked, do you want to take the red pill and stay where you are? Or the blue pill and stay where you are? Just stay where you are and just go back to normal. Just being like everyone else, not being a hero, just existing. Where there are other forces at work that are seriously taking advantage of you. And yeah, you'll never be what you're capable of being. Or do you want to take the red pill where you step into your huge potential and you go on this epic journey? If you want to go on that epic journey, I'm here to help. That's what I've been doing all my life, and I've only just got started because I believe there's an answer to everything, right? And I believe there's an answer to the problems that you have. I believe there's an answer to people's ill health. I believe there's an answer to the fact that some people's livelihood has gone out the window. I believe there are answers. I believe the only thing that exists out there in the world right now is possibilities. It's whether you can see possibility through the obstacles that we face. And a very famous book called The Obstacle is the Way. I believe it is the way. It's not obstacles in the way. This is in my way. No, it is the way. And we have to go through this because only going through this is something better on the other side. That's me. Maybe I'm just an eternal optimist. And lastly, what I want to say, apart from all of you that are watching this, I appreciate it. My mum is watching this. Isn't that nice? Well, my mum, through who she is, saved my wife's life. And the lives that we have touched, I'm very grateful to that, more than she'll ever know. But the other thing that came to me this morning when I was talking to my wife, I said about social isolation. And she goes, no, it's not social isolation, it's social distancing. And I thought, that's interesting. How many people do you think feel isolated right now? How many? How many people do you think felt isolated before this? I mean, 800,000 people take their own lives every year. A large proportion of those are men. How do you think they feel? Do you think they might feel isolated? The world needs heroes. The world needs people who will honor people like Martin Luther King. The most important question is, what can I do for you? How can I serve you? What do you need? Not look at my abs and post a picture of yourself on Instagram. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I love Instagram. I use it it's almost like a photo album for me because I forget. And of course, I want to inspire people. I want to inspire you to create your own story. Why do you think Facebook stories and Instagram stories are so popular? It's because everyone loves a story. What's your story? And is your story over yet? Let's not isolate. We have this challenge right now of having to keep our distance. We should smile at that when we feel ourselves doing it. I mean, obviously it's a good thing to do, but realize it won't be long until we can go out and hug people. I'm a hugger. I don't like shaking hands with people. I used to feel a bit self-conscious about that. I want to hug you right now and give you a virtual hug and say thank you very much for showing up here, right now. I'm going to take any questions. Even though this is my podcast as well, and we're still recording, I'm going to try and put this podcast out as soon as possible. I want to thank all of you that listen to my podcast because a lot of people do. And if you are one of those people, again, reach out to me. However you want to do that, just reach out to me and go and get the book. Go and get the book. Also, with that book, you also get access to a whole load of videos that go with a video for every chapter of the book. This is about you being inspired. Some of you have bought the book, but it's not done anything because you haven't read it. But I genuinely want to thank you guys for being here today. I will take some questions. I know we've been going for a while. Please make sure you join me this week because I believe this week is going to be amazing. We don't need social distancing or isolation. These are wrong words and part of the negative subliminal condition. We only need physical distancing. Very well said. Thank you, Jill. But the only reason I'm on a roll, so Jill Graham has just said to me, you're on an absolute roll, powerful stuff, inspirational. I almost feel like saying, I believe. Well, Jill, what you did the other day, showing up on that Facebook Live, that's part of why I'm doing this, because you inspired me, And I'm just looking for people who, despite the difficulty, despite the challenges, still want to help others. How the hell are we going to get through this if we don't do this? Unless someone knows otherwise, we all have a one-way ticket. It's what we do on that journey that counts. Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. And sometimes people need other people to help us, So Jill says, my mum is in a nursing home and we can't visit her. She won't know we're not there. She's got Alzheimer's. I mean, Alzheimer's, as many people know, is a terrible condition. But you know what? A lot of people are now calling that diabetes type 3. You know, the fact that sugar is having a massive effect on people's brain, decaying, the brain. We have this ability to still grow and still evolve, and we can all make a difference. I want to thank all of you for watching this. I genuinely appreciate it like you wouldn't believe. And I don't know what your biggest takeaway is. I encourage you to think about what your guiding principles will be over the next few weeks. You know, you can use mine. Your future's unwritten. My future is unwritten. I have the power to change. Or maybe it's something like, I don't know. Tell me. I really appreciate it. Let's go out there today and think, what can we do? Maybe take a few moments out for yourself and step off the treadmill, because we've all had to get off the treadmill. Life isn't running as fast as it was, which is extremely dangerous for a lot of people. Living it away, they're just never switching off, always going. Now they've got a little bit of time, hopefully. Well, some people won't, because now they're going to have their children at home next week, which they weren't expecting. And maybe you're one of those people that's going to need help, and maybe you'll have to ask someone. Let's ask, let's be the difference. Let's do what Martin Luther King said, and let's get through this. You know, let's get through this together, because that's the only way I believe that we will. Thank you for watching. I really, really, really appreciate it. I wish all of you a happy, happy, beautiful day. And I'll see you all tomorrow morning, those of you that will be watching me, 7 a.m., Monday to Friday, How to Build Hope, Zest, and Optimism. Go and get your hands on a copy of the book, book.petecohen.com. If you want to speak to me on the phone, you can also arrange a time to do that. Let's do it. Take care. Much love to all. Bye-bye.